All right, Dr. Ikechi Agugba, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I want to give kudos to the speakers. They've spoken very well, but I was just saying in my mind, all these beautiful and wonderful strategies, models, frameworks to revamp Nigeria's agriculture sector. As like I'm an agriculture person, from my childhood days at the University of Nigeria, and I started as a child, so I went in for agriculture. I am not a product of afterthought. I have a PhD in agriculture, and I did my postdoc, and I've lived in Nigeria. I've lived in South Africa. I've lived in fact, I do a lot around, agriculture. And yeah, we've talked about, public-private people's partnership, public-private, and all those PPP things, and which is also good. But we need to practicalize. When you look at those, the farmers that have spoken, you see that these are real-time issues. We need to start implementing them. I love what Jacqueline said. Jacqueline was talking about ecosystem, looking at the system issues. When we talk about food and agricultural systems, we are looking at production, and it's like a world of its own. We are looking at crops, livestock, forestry, fisheries, and then you now get into processing, and then which is another aspect of its own, and you are dealing on supply and value chains, and then you get to distribution and then consumption. What happens with all these things? So I think we really need to form like a stakeholder group. Like I normally say things in that way. She mentioned about indigenous, those local. Yeah, even as a university teacher, I work a lot with young people, and I developed a strategy.
I'm afraid, Dr. Ikechi, we
Recently,
lost you there.
after my long years in
Okay, we hear you.
Sorry about that.
So, bullet point,
so
yes.
sorry, yeah. So that strategy is a brain reengineering concept and reimagination, which is true. And then, of course, youth engagement in agriculture is very important. I've consulted for the UN twice. And when I consulted for them, we discovered that young people, their role in driving transformation in food systems cannot be overemphasized. So they have a very important role to play. So the brain reengineering strategy resonates around 5 pillars. The first one, as I conclude, perception change. Then second aspect is on ideation and entrepreneurship, which has been lacking in the global south, especially in Africa. Africa is the future. Then the fourth pillar is technology integration, amalgamation of different technological solutions. Then, of course, then we get to sustainability and circular economy, like it's like an antidote to manage all those waste issues. How do we utilize waste? How do we use them for planning? Then finally, social equity in public policy. So I have to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And could you put this on the in the chat also? I think this is a very strong, very well articulated point. Please put them in the chat. Ife, we pass the mic to you right away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to all of our presenters. It has been very educative to me. I just want to bring out a point that some of us might know and some of us may not. Going from one of the last points that the last speaker just made on youth involvement in agriculture. And then I was concerned, it actually caught my attention when the first farmer lady spoke. Well done, Ma, for what you do. Now, please let us note, our youths are being directed, attracted towards digital. There's this thing going on in the world, attracting youth towards digitalization, STEM, and all those things. It is good, but please let's note the danger. The danger is this same aspect of digitalization and technology that our youth are being attracted towards is the same aspect that AIs are being built for. Let's note that a time will come, if things continue the way they are going, our youths will wake up suddenly and realize that they are useless. And I see that there's a lot of encouragement to push them into that digitalization world. And it's concerning because if agriculture before now in our generation has been the largest employer of labor, we are beginning to turn that around, and it is looking as though it is becoming a reality, strong reality, that our people are out of agriculture tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, of course, I'm speaking, tomorrow, our youths would wake up one day and they would be replaced by robots, and they wouldn't have learned any other skills. Please, let's note there is need to have this awareness out there so that we can drive our youths back to being productive, learning some other things and getting involved in our agricultural value chain. That's what I wanted to bring out. Thank you very much. Very interesting session.
Many thanks, Efe. Thanks for keeping it very punchy also. So we'll pass the mic to Ambassador Ali Ndaabu.
Thank you, my brother, for giving me the opportunity. Again, my own is I want to make a protest. You see, all these good policy decisions, policy recommendations that have been made by our eloquent speakers. I think we need to find a way of bringing all of us together, not in the e-room now, but in the physical room, that we speak to people like this. Well, am I a policy maker? I don't know, because I'm in government, but you see, when you need our ministers to be in a room to understand the content of what is being developed here today. And I think basically what I wanted to say, I love the last speaker. In fact, I was telling my wife, you must become a farmer. When I listen to her, you must become a farmer. You must listen to this lecture, and I really appreciate everything. And I think what I wanted to add is that what I wanted to add is already on the chart, where I said balancing domestic consumption with international opportunities requires a holistic approach, right? To integrate policy framework, developing policies that support both domestic food security and export growth is very essential, right? Mr. Fugo also talked about, she also talked about value addition. That is the element that we're looking for. You cannot, every day we keep talking about value addition, export of raw materials. We need value addition to augment everything we do to get the value we are looking for. And then maybe lastly, and I like bringing this point each time we do this webinar, how do we engage the private sector? The private sector, engaging the private sector through a PPP partnership can bring the investment, technology, expertise, driving growth in both domestic and export-oriented agriculture is very critical. And I think those are the points I wanted to raise. And I want to say thank you very much. And then my protest stands that this thing should, we're done with e-web now. Let's go to classroom. And I think I challenge for everybody to please bring us together, sit with the ministers, talk to these people, policy makers, and I'm sure people like John, they will even slap some of them in that hall. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Sorry, Sheyi, let me just respond quickly to that.
I give you 1 minute, sir.
Yes. So it's fantastic that you are actually putting our thoughts. Business Day and Talking Trade are already planning a physical national policy dialogue to take place in Abuja sometime later in the year, probably in October. But I'm responding because I want to put you in the seat. For 2.5 years, Talking Trade has been a private sector driven platform that has been holding regular dialogues. So it's not how do we engage the private sector, it's now how do we engage the public sector. And we are lucky to have you here. Now you know ahead of time that we are planning a physical meeting. We will please appreciate it if you will join us in the planning and take responsibility for reaching out to the public sector, because there is no point preaching to the converted. Everybody on this call today is feeling the pain. They are already converted. They know what to do about agriculture, about farming, and what have you. But how do we get those who should enable? They are the enablers. How do we get the enablers to come into the room, sit, listen, and act on the suggestions that are given to them? So, Your Excellency, we will continue the discussion after the webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, sir.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ali Nda and Mr. Femi Boyede. We'll take Bosun Solarin, John Isimede, and then we come back to Femi Boyede if you want, or any of the speakers. We've been privileged to hear from Madam Elion, Mr. Ahmed Adigun, Emeka Chime from PwC, and Madam Jacqueline Yawa. So we'll take Bosun Solarin, John Isimede, and any of the speakers can then give direct feedback. If you can turn on your video, please, we would appreciate that. Madam Bosun, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening and thank you so much. My name is Bosun Solarin. I am a farmer and I'm an agro processor. Now I'll start with I only picked the answer with the highest mark for number 2 because that was the only answer. And it's been said here today, if those who advise government on policy decisions, we will never get it right. And that's why recently, NPNEN, non-oil practicing exporters, that we all had issues with NAFDAC. When they will go and make policies that is totally anti-people, then is it that Mr. Maker who said there should be no export? Is it that there is no food? People cannot afford it. In my Bagada here, there is yam in the market, but I cannot afford 7,000 naira yam. And why is yam expensive? They're going to pay. Transportation is expensive. He pays extortioners on the road to get to there. So by the time they get here, the prices are too high for people to be able to afford. That is a problem with food. It is not that there is no food. 2, then my thoughts. I can authoritatively say here that most people who invested in agriculture, like me in 2017, we did because the likes of during Adesina, they were promoting agriculture as a replacement to the oil sector. So when a government wakes up today to say I must be feeding Nigeria, is that why I invested my money? And then there are people who are talking about policies are supporting such things. Then to go from there is to say, then government is only trying to punish those they can get. In Yoruba parlance, we say, so it means that because they can exert power over me because there's nothing I can do, then they can make policies that inflict on my investment and put me at a loss. Then lastly, I want to say that, just 1 second, I'll get my paper right. Lastly, I want to say, one of the major reasons to secure the lives of people. When people cannot farm, in 2015, up till what time, we didn't have issues with food security. But it is because a lot of people have been killed on the farm. A lot of people cannot go to the farm. I have stopped going to my farm since 2021. It was a farm I bought with millions of money. Now, even since last year, 3 years ago, I've been in Owode Egba in Ogun State. I cannot get people to use it free. People. So when we are talking about government should do their duties where security of lives and properties are guaranteed, then people can go to the farm. Lastly, on importation of foods, we will only scatter the worst, what has gone worse to become worse. When we import invested that are still hanging on in the farm, the products of because of what I have reeled out earlier, and so they will not be able to sell in the market as well. Because if they bring rice, like we're hearing at 40,000, the man who is going to farm rice here can never sell because of labor, like the first speaker said, because of all those extortion.
I'm afraid, Madam Bosun, your network is messing up a little bit. So I think the point is clear. And I don't want to repeat it. Let me move very quickly to Dr. John Isimbede.
Properties that would they all be wasted? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Bosuso Larry. We are in the struggle together.
Mr. Isimbede, if you can keep it in 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yes, even in less than 2 minutes. Thank you. Very happy with the participants and all those who have made one presentation or the other. My question is to my friend, Femi Boyede. Food security is a very strong foreign policy. Do we have a foreign policy? If the answer is yes, do we have a foreign policy strategy? If we do, why the importation of food? Under 1 minute, I will give you.
I like that.
At independent Nigeria no university. Today we have more than 250 universities and over 200 faculties of agriculture. Why the import culture that we're importing food? Export is not a priority in Nigeria. Import is on a single window. The second one is that we can produce maize in my village in 70 days. 36 days, 48 ministers, 774 local government council. Nobody has come out to tell Mr. President we can produce maize and save this country. Number 3, why the question of ban by Emeka? When we have signed ECOWAS, we have signed the WTO and order. Why are we afraid to engage the world? Why is it that Nigeria, after agreement, we go and sit at the back and be crying foul? Number 4, why do we close borders, which is contrary to ECOWAS agreement and WTO? Food is coming in because we have devalued our currency. The 1 naira in the 70s was 1,000 sefa. Today it's almost 4 to 1. Number 5, this food issue did not start today. By 1972, we had the food program. 76, Operation Feed the Nation Back to Land. And we destroyed the commodity board and destroyed agriculture. The whole issue started in 1963 after regional buried agriculture in 1986. Number 6, what is food safety? Where are we on General Obasanjo's food security program? The UNIDO project of 2003. Number 7, we were in Maputo in 2003, and it was agreed that 12% of our budget to be used to run agriculture. Have we ever put for the past 20 years 2 to 5%? And we are the giant of Africa. We are in charge of ECOWAS. We are the charge of Africa. We 2% to 5% feed 250 million people alone. What is the budget in a country of 2% plantation agriculture, 80% commercial farming, and 80% of subsistence agriculture? Is that what we should rely on? Number 9.
Okay, if you can wrap up number 9, sir.
All right, number 9, that is 10. Number 9, where are we? What are the MDAs doing that they are now policing instead of assisting? Number 10, agriculture can never go forward if we don't use the 3 tiers of government. Agriculture should be in the rural areas. Look at the importation figure for rice, fish, and all that. Now we have to add maize. I will give you the example, which is the final one, of what Unilever, Nigerian Breweries, Guinness, suffered from this bad policy in 1991. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And it's really incredible to see that we are all taking notes and we can all circle back to points that have been raised. I really appreciate that. So this is where we'll come back to our guest speakers to give direct feedbacks if they want to. Just a few seconds for them to catch their breath, and then they can respond as they wish among themselves. Who wants to go first, please?
Okay, because we have actually exceeded by 26 minutes thus far, I will not be saying any last this thing, but just to encourage my colleagues. I can see quite a number of hands up there. Imea Nang, Alhaji Mohammed Kotagora, Dalatu Hamza, Gani Okeowo. I beg of you, moderator, and I beg of all of us participants, please, can we allow these people to take 1 minute each? And can I beg them, please, 1 minute to be 1 minute? We really will feel bad if your hands have been up for this long and we didn't give you the opportunity. After that, my colleagues, co-speakers can go ahead and say the rounding up notes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dalhatu, do you want to go first? If you're mute.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Am I heard?
Yes, please proceed.
Or even rather, yes. Okay. Actually, I have 2 or 3 points to make. The first point is the topic itself, even though timely, but I want us to understand that we can actually clearly demarcate export products and local consumption product in agriculture, because to some extent they go hand in hand, but most of the things we export are not the basic consumables in Nigeria. That is one. 2, as long as we want to export any product, if we don't have agricultural processing zones like other countries, a lot of Nigerian produce, farm produce in particular, are being processed within the West African sub-region and labeled for that country, while in the real sense of the word, it is our farmers that farm this produce. And the value chain of this product goes to somebody who was sleeping during the farming season. I'll give an example. For the past 6 years, we've been trying to export sesame seed to Turkey. It is almost impossible because Nigerian sesame seed, even though produced in Yobe, Maiduguri, and the rest of the few other states, is being exported via Cameroon, via Ghana, via Cote d'Ivoire, and so on. So we need to look at, as one of the speakers said, the government policy. What has NAFDAC got to do with export while we have Nigerian Export Promotion Council?
Thank you.
These are things we have to really fight and work on. And wherever there is the weaknesses, we approach the government. For the last 3 years, we've been trying to organize what we call AMITEX to bring home to farmers who should know what they need to do. AMITEX is agricultural mechanization expo. We are doing the third in November this year. And we're doing it in hand with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I'm one of the organizers. We have a committee under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to bring home all the farmers, states, governments, all the stakeholders, so that we need to understand, for example, simple farming of tomato. Tomato is something you can farm throughout the year. Why should a basket of tomato at one point in time reach up to 180,000 naira locally? And at the same time, a lot of tomatoes are being thrown out or thrown away in the dust.
Please, sir, can we round this up so that the other people can also have one minute?
So
finally, I just didn't want to not call you guys up.
Basic primary processing industries in agriculture in order to enhance our export products from Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamzat. Mr. Gani Okeowo, if you can do it in 1 minute, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, I want to agree with the idea of a food ecosystem And what we are doing, I am the CEO of Greater Radio Investments Limited, based in Ekpe, Lagos. And what we are doing, we call it AgriTrail Trade Center. And the whole idea is to, because agriculture is practiced at the local level, and it is integrated. It is not a monoculture thing. People do so many things together. So we want to bring these integrated farmers with my experience having managed a Shanghai farm in Oyo State and run through about 16 value chains of agriculture. We can bring farmers at the local level together into a central food system hub in every local government, and then bring the machinery to that center, bring the inputs to the center, bring the fertilizers, the feeds to the center. The farmers, we have also developed a technology to such that as the farmers do their things, they with the technology, and eventually we support them with extension support. They bring the produce back to that center where value addition is done and centrally packaged, rather than each farmer doing his own thing and going to NAFDAC. We do a central packaging for the entire produce that comes out from that local government. And it becomes something that is exportable and marketable nationwide and African-wide. So basically, that's the kind of thing that we need to put in place. The palliative, if they put 1 billion in every local government to do that, it will go a long way to ameliorate the challenges of farmers in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mohammed Katangura, please, 1 minute from there.
Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Oga Boyd and my Oga, Dr. Osemedi, for the opportunity. I think I don't want to waste time because a lot has been said. But I want to encourage us on this fiscal meeting because a lot we need to sit down and discuss. But most importantly, in the course of our discussion, we tend to forget one issue, and that is the informal trade that is taking place across our border. Just last week, I had a committee that went around, and I'm the president of National Share Product Association of Nigeria. And I'll just find out what is happening. Across the border, there is a particular border that we saw 200 trillion loads of our share not getting out of this country. And unfortunately for us, the share note is not in the prohibitive list, but nobody is taking data. We need to work on that. Above all, by the time we're able to meet fiscally, we should come out with policy that will engage government. Believe me, the only way we can change the narrative is by making sure that the private sector is put in the driving seat. We just have to do it against all to ensure that, yes, we drive this sector, the export. To me, export is a child of necessity. We really need to export because we have to earn the much desired foreign exchange. So it's very key. And then when you try to aggregate all what has been said, one thing is common. We need a common facility center. In a simple term, we need structure and infrastructure. So long as we want to do marketing both within and out, so that so long as we want our product to be out there. The infrastructure at both the rural and urban setting is the common facility center for the women at the grassroots. And then we'll also, for the community, we need to have community-based aggregation centers. So what is missing, what is fundamental in this part of the world is that we tend to neglect this basic infrastructure. So please, I encourage you to go ahead with that. Call us, let's sit down and develop a workable document that will implement with the support of the government. But believe you me, it is the private sector that will change the narrative. So I said I will not talk much. I appreciate the opportunity given to me. And I hope we'll continue to meet so that until we are able to get the desired result. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And thanks to everyone for staying through and for remaining on the call. Now we pass the mic to our guests, to our speakers. I'll start with Mr. Ahmed Adigun. I see your hand is raised. And then we can move to Madam Jacqueline and then Madam Elion.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, I'm just a bit disturbed. Like, almost everyone here, we are practically saying almost the same thing. Like everybody keep on saying ecosystem, ecosystem. And I wonder, who are the policymakers? Let me just say this. I think the government has to be very, very intentional when it comes to agriculture. And as I have said, I said in my other space that if we go by our current process of doing things in Nigeria, the entire 2025 budget, put it in agriculture, it will still be a failure. The real farmers will understand what I'm saying here now, that some of us, it is not even about the funding sometimes. I've told you, I brought in the biggest combined harvester to this country, and we cannot use it to work because wood combine will go to 1 hectare, 2 hectares, 3 hectares. The cost to move them to that place is too much. And that is why government needs to be very intentional. You have to do what is called farm estates, put in mechanization. You see, people also need to understand agriculture is not poverty alleviation scheme. You cannot continue to tell people who cannot barely feed themselves anytime there is food scarcity, you tell them go and farm, go and farm. Let me give you a life experience from one of my Australian farmers. We were discussing 3 days ago, and he told me that he's cultivating 2,000 hectares of wheat. And I was like, how do you do it? Only 4 people are working on that farm. Only 4 people. And his yield is almost 5 tons per hectare. I want any farmer, despite having, if you want to do that 2,000 hectares in Nigeria, you will need close to like 300 people to work on that farm. And at the end of the day, they will hardly get 2 tons per hectare or 3 tons. So it is not just about saying a lot of people you should jump into agriculture and everything. While I was on this place, one of my cousins was with me, and he was like, all his agri practical in school are old and cutlass. A federal university in Nigeria has over 10,000 hectares of farmland. They had a combined harvester. The combined harvester is more like a showroom. The boy was telling me that it has never been used on the farm. In fact, they don't even have a farm they are going to use it to work. So until we change our policy, and look at it, federal government is doing a program with some states, and I would not like to start pointing them. And you see the process they are doing the soya beans, and I was telling them, you are still planting soya beans by this period, that you yourself, you know that the chances of you getting the appropriate yield is low. They said, they need to do it because they have to write a report, which means even if the project fails, they don't really care. But it has to be, they have done it and they have taken pictures. So both federal government, both states, let's even say we have 774 local government. Let each local government create 10,000 farm estates. Private investors who knows that, if my tractor is here, it's going to make nothing less than 3 to 5 million per tractor, because there is plow to do, there is harrowing to do, there is planting to do. And one thing majority of us don't know is that as a farmer, whatever you spend, you are not getting the raw money. What you are expecting is yield that will give you money in return. So the moment you are having a low yield, definitely it will affect. And majority of people, in one way or the other, in Nigeria, as at one time or the other, invested in agriculture, majority of them ran back because they could not make the amount of money they invested in that. And why? Because we do not have, I'll put it under infrastructure. We do not have enough machines, even the little ones that we have are at disadvantage because working in 0.5 hectares, 1.5 hectares, whereas these people can be put in a place, harmonize them together. You see people bring in machine, they will come, and before you know it, everything will start working, silos and everything.
I apologize for being rude. Let me jump in here. Thank you. Thank you very much. The point is clear. But as we wrap up, let me pass the mic to Madam Jacqueline Yawa for our wrapping thoughts. Madam Jacqueline Yawa, please.
Okay, so this is my wrapping thoughts. Agriculture is a business like every other business, and there are nuances attached to it. If we could do it in music, in the film industry, in banking, I believe that we're a tenacious set of people. We can replicate that in the agricultural space. A businessman, someone was mentioning, you can't stop them, or a businesswoman, you can't stop me from selling my goods to who I want to sell it to. It's not a restricted economy, it's a free economy. But there was a gentleman who mentioned something about rewiring or re-engineering of the brain. So the people aspect has got to do with, do I have an enlightened self-interest towards this nation? What is, am I nationalistic in any way whatsoever? Would I rather sell, locally than export? At the end of the day, it's about me paying tuition. I'm sure most of us on this call have our children in Malaysia, Singapore, Canada, America, and that's the dollar that we're looking for. If they were going to a Nigerian university and I didn't need to go to a hospital in Dubai, maybe this kind of pressure will not be there. If I was using Jordan toothpaste and toothbrush that I grew up with, maybe this won't be happening. So at the end of the day, yes, we can point fingers, but really, to be honest, sometimes I think our problem is that we're too big. Someone talked about Gambia. It's 3 million people. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that has 3 million people. And they're exporting exclusively. So again, at the national level and sub-national level, we need to take that all along, all the way to the local government. Hopefully, my final thought, the local government autonomy will bring some kind of traction at the local level. And to all of you that are in the agribusiness space, actually farming, kudos to you. It's a lot of heavy lifting, but please stay tenacious and don't give up, because it is in the process and trusting the process that the best of quality will come forward. Thank you very much.
Really, thank you indeed, Madam Jacqueline Yawa. We really can't thank you enough for your time, and thanks for staying true. Can I pass the mic to Madam Elion Christiana for your wrapping thoughts, please?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And actually, I've learned a lot today, and I'm going to take most of the points here on board. And but I want every farmer in the house to pat yourself on the back, because we've really done well. Nollywood didn't start in one day and became the big Nollywood and so on. We heard of Kosoko at one time, and we are hearing about other people right now. So I believe that with time, the family is evolving and we are evolving as well. So I know that as time goes on, things will pick up. And like someone like me, I do purely organic farming, and it's kind of one work times 10 to the person that is doing the conventional farming. So I know that it's a matter of time. Most people don't want to know what goes into organic farming. I live in Canada. If I enter an organic farm, I can spend about $500, buying organic food. So compared to if I go into normal superstore or Walmart. So we need a lot, we still need to grow, and we have a lot of learning to do, and I know we're going to get there as time, with time. Thank you very much for putting this together. This is my first time here, and I'm really, I enjoyed my time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed, Madam Elion, and for being a very positive encourager to many of the farmers here. Mr. Emeka Chime, someone called you the tax master. Can we pass the mic to you for your wrapping thoughts, please?
No, tax advocate, so I didn't call him tax master. I didn't give him. You're the tax advocate, and it's so good to have you here, because I'm going to come knocking.
No worries. Export.
I mean, sorry, Mr. Femi, go ahead.
No. The floor is yours, Mr.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm not going to take too much time. I mean, also for me, it was very, very enlightening. Speaking to or hearing from, the actual farmers, and just hearing some of these the real issues, on ground. It was very enlightening for me. So thank you so much. I'll just say, to some of the points that came in about how we should take this to the door of the policymakers. I'll really encourage that, because at the end of the day, as much as we say, the private sector needs to do this, needs to do that, we need infrastructure, we need security. somebody said they've not been to their farms since 2019 or 2020. I mean, what are we saying? We need these basic things to be put in order so that, you know, we can go back or even be better than how our productivity was back in the day. So just it would be nice if we can have that kind of elevated engagement with the government, you know, and maybe even physically. But thank you once again, everybody. It's been very enlightening for me.
Thank you indeed. Mr. Femi Boyede, you said you were not going to give any parting words, but just to thank our speakers, I will give you the honor. And if there are any other comments from you.
Yes. I could say that yes a million times. I'm excited, and I'm sure that the super team is excited too. This was a wonderful session, even though it was, I mean, we've had to hurry a lot of people. We've never spent 2 hours, and now we spent 2 hours and 17 minutes, and people are still hanging on. So I want to appreciate the speakers. I want to appreciate our partners, Business Day Media Foundation. I want to acknowledge the world's best team, Talking Trade and Investment Global. We missed 2 key members today, Lady K and Mr. Ibrahim, who are otherwise engaged. But please let it be on record that we recognize, we acknowledge, and we appreciate the efforts that you guys are putting in. I had wanted Sheyi to launch another poll, but he said technically it can be done while the meeting has already started. But from the feedback I'm getting in the back office, so to say here, it looks like we have just scratched the surface of this topic about agriculture, and we may have to have a part 2 or a continuation. And please, this is just a pre-information to our speakers. Please don't send us away if we come knocking on your doors again, because definitely, you guys have been very vocal, you have been very explosive, and you have been very, very educative. So we appreciate you. And on this note, I want to say a big thank you to, what should I call you now, Sheyi, for sitting in or standing in or occupying for Lady K. And I want to say a very big thank you. And yeah, I think that's a good place to say thank you. God bless you all, and see you next time.